If there's one thing that you absolutely must master and must understand when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to happiness, fulfillment, living a life where you absolutely are enjoying every step, every part of the process of your journey, is this. This is the key. This is the ultimate key that's going to support you in everything. Bear with me, okay? Relax. If you understand the importance of the relax, how to actually relax in your process, in your journey, then that alone will actually get you through from where you are now to where you want to go. Okay. Why is that the case? Well, let's think about it in terms of nature. When we observe nature, the most powerful, most, you know, amazing element in nature is what? It is water, right? This is the element of life. Everything that we need is provided for us by ways of water that gives us life. You and yourself is about 80% water, right? In your physical body. So that says something. The world, the earth, is about 80% water. So that says something. So when we think about how water works, okay, it works by following gravity, okay? Gravity is a fundamental universal law, right, of the world, of the earth. And so when we think about gravity in water, essentially what we're talking about here is flow, okay? Now, everything here, as far as gravity, as far as water, as far as flow, encompasses you, okay? We also need to account for frequency, which can also be called almost like electricity. Okay. That is basically everything else going on in your body that is channeled with a energy, a life source, right? A power. Your cells, your body, your nervous system, your brain, the synapses that are firing. Those are all electrical impulses, right? The way your body moves, your heartbeat. Okay. The heartbeat itself is the result of an electrical impulse, right? That has a rhythmic feeling to it or a rhythmic flow to it. So you are essentially your physical body, electricity and water, right? Because the impulses are happening in water, which is how, you know, when we think about electricity and water, we usually associate that with a dangerous combination. But in fact, it is a combination of power that we just can't control when we have these two elements close to one another. So that's why it's not recommended you have electricity and water together. But in your body, there is wisdom there. There's a wisdom of knowing how to balance energy and water in the physical body. So then when we take into account, okay, the gravitational pull of the earth, and we recognize, okay, well, when we are at a space where, say, water, which is 80% of the body, when we recognize that water as 80% of the body is the basic fundamental element that we should be paying attention to in our lives. Okay. How does water work? It flows with gravity, but with your body, you can manipulate gravity by ways of your muscles contracting, by ways of sleeping, things like that. But ultimately, water works where it basically flows down based on gravity. And then what happens is it evaporates, right? Goes up into the sky, becomes a cloud. Okay. Then it rains. right? In order to come back to where it started. Well, essentially, you can debate where it starts, but essentially, it follows this circle. Okay. Rains, falls down based on gravity, evaporates up based on heat, and then it comes up and accumulates into the sky and where it comes back down. So, but essentially, when we think about water, water is natural flow is down. When we think about water, we also have to think about the state of water. Water is always in a relaxed state, meaning that it can encompass any shape or form, right? So we put water in this glass, it is going to take the shape of the glass. If we throw water on the floor, okay, it is going to be a puddle, right? Because the floor is flat. So it's going to match the surface of the floor or the table or what have you. If you put it into a bowl, okay, it's going to match the shape of the bowl. So water is what is going to adapt to a particular situation or environment, but also it still remains the same. Now, when you think about manifestation, how are you being in your state of manifestation? Are you being rigid? Okay. Are you being in a space where you are tense? Are you stressed when you think about your desires and what you want to materialize and manifest? These are very important. When you acknowledge that you are being rigid, you're being tense, you're being stressed out, you are essentially going against the very nature of your body. You see? Now, things can still manifest from this, meaning you can still fit, right, the capsule that you are wanting to be housed in or wanting to adapt to. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about the capsule being your life, or really the lifestyle that you desire. In order for you to fit the lifestyle that you desire, right, to fit that capsule, you have to be relaxed to adapt to it. You cannot be rigid in, say, if you're wanting to fit inside a cup, you cannot be, right, a bowl. You cannot be the shape of a bowl if you're wanting to fit into a cup. So currently what's happening is as you are working to materialize and manifest a particular reality or to match a frequency, right, of your desired future self, you are currently identifying or living as a result of the identity of a bowl. And you are recognizing that you wish to actually live as a cup. And so the content, right, that is within this bowl needs to shape itself according to, right, the properties of this cup. So you have to understand that being rigid, being tense, being stressed means that you are staying stuck with the identification of this bowl rather than being relaxed, being, someone that adapts, okay, and essentially being free. So you're not stuck, okay? When you recognize that this is the framework of how you are supposed to feel along your journey of materialization, manifestation, along your journey of self-realization, then you understand that essentially this is the essence of how you are supposed to feel or should feel along this journey to make it a prosperous one, to make it a beneficial journey, to make it more importantly, a pleasurable journey. So relaxation, being relaxed, is by far the most important aspect of how you apply everything that you're learning. If you are learning it with this rigid, tense, or intense mindset, there's a lot of people who study spirituality, metaphysical sciences, and, studying works one part of the mind, whereas relaxing into it and being creative works another part of the mind. And so many times people are studying and they're reading all these books and they're constantly analyzing, critiquing, judging. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's balanced with freedom, creativity, flexibility. Because the reality is, though you are reading and getting all this information and insight, it is still from the point of view of the author, even if it is based in facts. So you have to understand is, how do you extract the information that resonates with you and be creative with it, so that way it aligns with you as a whole and complete individual, not just the part of you that thinks this is the right way versus that is the wrong way. You see, that takes away the joy. It takes away the relaxation of the process of the journey. So you have to recognize that, first off, it ain't that serious. Why? Because the game is already rigged for you to win. So you can relax in that. Don't feel stuck. Don't feel in a space where you are needing to be so intense and so serious that you cannot have fun. You are supposed to have fun in this journey. That's what it is about. So don't take yourself too seriously in this process. It is okay to implement seriousness when you are practicing, when you are training, when you are implementing and paying attention to what kind of results you get. But still, have fun. When you think about an athlete, there are athletes that exist and are very successful in what it is that they do, and they can do so and not have fun. But really, you want to be the athlete who can train hard, can be disciplined, can be focused, but also they enjoy it. You see, the best things that I've done and created the best results from were those moments where, yes, I was intense, I was dedicated, I was serious, but I was also having fun at the same time. You see, and what happens is, no matter the results, because you're having fun, you're going to be able to go a lot further than the person who isn't having fun, but seems to be looked at as some genius or have some kind of talent. The fact of the matter is, if they're just relying on just talent and hard work alone, people are going to burn out if they're not having fun. So you have to be relaxed in your process. And the only way to be relaxed in your process is to be flexible, right? Bruce Lee said it, be water, my friend, because water is the element that represents spirituality. It represents that ability to adapt, to move. Okay. Water, when, growing up in New York, I was always fascinated by water in the sense that every building, in the corner of that building, if you're looking at the ground in the concrete, you will see that there are spots in the concrete where it has been worn down and there's a little bit of a hole or an indentation in the concrete. When you pay attention and you realize where it is in relationship to the building, you see that it's in the corner of the building where, when it rains, the water funnels to that corner of the building and drips down. That constant drip, that repetitive drip of the water, right? Following gravity, following the flow, following its very nature, will begin to wear down that concrete, begin to wear down the rock. If you even go into nature, you go to a river or a lake, you notice these stones that are in the river. Why are they so smooth? That is because the water is constantly moving. It's constantly moving the rocks along one another, and they are slowly beginning to smooth away, right? All of the sharp edges of that stone. And so when you think about your life, when you think about the things that you desire, the things that you want, you have to understand that in order for you to create the lifestyle that you desire, you have to understand that this desire is grounded in your authentic self. When you recognize that this desire is grounded in your authentic self, it is you being your authentic self that we're talking about. So when you're authentic with yourself, you are the most relaxed. You are the most free. So therefore, you can adapt from where you are or what you need to do currently to the lifestyle that you desire, you know, moving forward. So I just really wanted to focus on the importance here of you relaxing. There are some times where we can manifest some particular things, and those things can happen with intensity, with deep focus, with being serious. But ultimately, if you are not relaxed, that is not going to last long term. So you must be focused in on being your authentic self. Authenticity always expresses itself as relaxation, as a relaxed state of mind, a relaxed way of being. So that's the bottom line today. That's all I really wanted to share with you, because I think most of us, or a lot of us, understand that we are creators of our own reality, and we can essentially create anything that we desire. And in fact, some of us are also beginning to recognize that everything that we experience is a result of our creative power, that we've already created everything that we're experiencing. It's just a matter of doing it consciously and intentionally. So that way we, know, okay, this is what I desire, and therefore that is what is going to be created. And so we get, really caught up in feeling like something's wrong with us because we're not seeing things align right away, but you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to recognize that it's just simply a matter of trusting. If you think about water, it trusts, it just goes with, its nature is to go with the flow. Its nature is to be water, right? Its nature is to adapt. Its nature is slow, right? It is focused, but it is intentional, So this is what I want you to understand about your process. Don't feel like you have to force something. The more you get into the understanding of flow, right? And some people think flow is just simply being passive, but flow is really about recognizing who you are. And so your desires, right? Remember, come from an authentic place, your authentic self. And so because of who you are, flow is not a matter of forcing something to happen. Flow is a matter of you allowing yourself to manifest, right? From a pure place, from your pure place. That's all we're talking about here. It's about recognizing, we have this fundamental understanding of what water is, but really the idea of water is a metaphor for you, right? For your pure self, your individualized consciousness. You have a certain nature about you that you have to honor, that you have to respect. When you get into that nature we're talking about here is authentic self. When you understand that, and you understand, well, hey, my authentic self desires this, that, and this, and you just simply trust. You have faith in that, regardless of what's happening in the outside world as a result of who you thought you were. Those things are going to dissolve over time, because as long as you are your authentic self, the flow of your desire simply manifests itself, because you are just going with that. You are trusting in that. You are accepting nothing other than that. You see, anything other than that is not even in your reality, is not even in your thought process, it's not even in your comprehension. It's not there, Okay. So this is why we have to learn to not compare ourselves to other people. In reality, there is no comparison. Comparison is the symptom of a mismanaged ego, right? And the ego just likes to separate and compare things. But the true reality is there is no comparison. They're on their mission, they're on their purpose, they're on their path, and you are on yours. The most important part of that you are to see from them and their journey is that they are being their authentic self. So your journey truly is based on you being your authentic self. When you are your authentic self, you are relaxed and you are in this relaxed state. So in order for you to line up with that frequency of the future self you desire, which is truly who you are, you have to relax in this process. Things can be a little bit crazy right now in life. I get it. It happens to me a lot, but I've learned that even when things are going the craziest, the most chaotic, the more I relax into my authentic self, into me, those things become insignificant. They don't matter. And so this is what I want you to understand. You're going to be fine. You are fine. You are completely whole and complete. You know what I mean? You are completely whole and complete, right? So when you recognize that, you understand that you have the ability to adapt to any situation. You do. But really what you want to do, the intention here is to understand that you are the water that fills any container. Therefore, you can decide the container that you wish to live in, to experience. That container is the life that you desire. That container is the future self that we're talking about in the future self frequency. That container is what you align with when you get into practicing the future self journal right here. Okay. So you can definitely buy both of these together in a bundle at futureselffrequency.com. Okay. And listen, I'm here to support you regardless. But what I want you to understand is that as we take this journey and as I support you with this journey, remember that I am a reflection of you. So it's not like this wisdom is outside of you and only within me. This wisdom is me showing it, reminding you of what it is that you already know. So just relax. Relax in the moment. Relax into who you are. When you do that, the materialization of your desires will manifest itself. You just have to continue to make sure that you are adapting, that you are moving in a space where you are aligning with the container that you wish to experience, the life you wish to experience. All right. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you so much. Peace and abundance always.